I've often heard it said in sports, business, and in life, what we focus on expands. When we focus on the positive things in our lives, we tend to see more of those. And when we focus on the quote unquote negative things in our lives, we'll see more of those as well. So the idea there is, how do we become choiceful about what we're looking for? Because as you've probably already found out in your own life, what we're looking for, we'll usually see. Hi, everyone. Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. You know, one of the things that I think is most powerful in all of our lives is the ability for us to have what I call a purposeful vision. A vision that basically drives us ahead in our lives, in our endeavors, in our relationships, in our professions. And I think you'll agree with me that when you have that vision in mind and you focus on the positive aspects, the things that can support you in attaining that vision, you'll most likely see those opportunities in your life. Whereas if you just focus on the obstacles, the things that cause pain, discomfort, uncomfortableness, you'll probably see more of those as well. Now, I'm not advocating that we ignore challenges, not at all. What I'm saying is we want to focus on how we can up-level our perception of how we can get to where we want to be. And I want to use this little example to kind of illustrate this. I want you to imagine if you've ever wanted a new car, or maybe recently you've even purchased a new car, or maybe you did it in the past. And I want you to think about once you made that decision, and you made the decision that it was going to be a particular color that you wanted, particularly make, model, maybe the number of miles on it. You got very specific about what you wanted. And when you did that, I can almost guarantee you this happened. You started seeing more of them on the road. Or if they weren't on the road, you saw them on TV ads or on the internet or in magazines. What would happen is all of a sudden your perception started to open up because that's where you were placing your focus. Now, the phenomenon that you were experiencing when that was happening is something called the reticular activating system of the brain. It's basically the brain's gatekeeper. You know, every second, millions of bits of information are being thrown our way. And so if we were to absorb all of those at one time, it would totally overwhelm us. But what the RAS does, the reticular activating system, is it literally filters those things. So when we're intentional about what we want to look for, we'll start seeing more of those things in our life. So how do we create this in our lives, and how do we focus our energies here so that we can use the RAS to our advantage? Well, I've got 3 ideas here that we can all use, whether we're doing it in our personal or professional lives, in our roles, in our relationships, or in our places of leadership. These 3 aspects, I think, can really help us mold and become intentional in our RAS. Number 1 is simply to be present. Simply to slow down, particularly when things tend to be moving real fast, is to stop, drop, and into our hearts and just breathe and just get observant as to what you're seeing in front of you. Not the things that are rattling around in your head and the fears that you have about the problems you think that are going to surface, but just be in the present moment now and understand what you're seeing in front of you. Number 2 is to be intentional. Is to say, this is what I'm looking for to experience. I don't know about you, but I know I've had plenty of times in my life where I was suspecting bad things to happen, or I was worried about something happening, and oftentimes it was never as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I placed all my emphasis on that thing that I thought was going to occur, that was going to be detrimental to what I wanted. But yet, when I flipped the script and I focused on the things that I wanted, oftentimes it started to open things up for me, and I actually saw opportunities that I didn't know existed before. It's like a coach said to me one day, he said, "Chris, if you're going to fantasize, you might as well win. So be intentional." And then finally is be proactive. Take action. One of my teachers also told me one time that God, Spirit, the universe meets us at the point of action. And that was easy for me to relate to because in the martial arts, we consider the martial arts to be an action philosophy. We take action to make things happen. Now, the interesting thing about this is I have found that when we take action, even if it's a very small step, what ends up happening is it leads to the next step and we start to create momentum. And as I noted before, when we're in that motion, we start to see things pop up that we didn't even notice before. Maybe when we were just in our minds and worrying about ruminating the things we didn't want to have occur. So there's three things for us to consider this week is to be present, to be intentional, and then finally to be proactive. And so I have a challenge for all of us this week, myself included, is where do you have an opportunity to up-level the way you're looking at things in your life right now? Is it in your relationships, your business, your health and wellness? Whatever that might be, I'm going to challenge you as well. I'm going to challenge myself is to look for the good, look for something positive within that. Because as I said before, what you're looking for, you'll usually see. So thanks so much for joining me. So appreciate you all each and every week giving me great comments and likes. And please continue that. And if you have other topics you'd like me to speak on, you can share that with me as well. So this has been Chris NATZKE with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching. And we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.